Well, it's already past time, so I think we need to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
First item on the agenda is to approve the September minutes. I assume everybody has reviewed them.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Aye.
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 Yeah.
Bob, it's you now. You want to give us an update? And thank you for the pictures. Those were very helpful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was struggling with my computer all day. It kept
So is everyone.
it kept bouncing up and down. It was shutting itself off, and it was. But I was able to get the last email out a couple of minutes before the meeting, and that is basically the list of all the case numbers with the addresses, and that's, you should have that in your email. I'm hoping, so we could work off of that. There was also some of the emails had pictures, and then there were about 3 emails that showed that actually had video link. If that works for you, it's working off of the Google Drive. I tested it a few times, so hopefully the links will work with you. Having a short video almost is much better than having a still photos, because it really does give you a good view of the properties if you want to. So we can start off, if we're ready to go, with the number 1, 16-01.
Yep.
All right. There's been no changes there whatsoever on that property. Absolutely nothing. And that was one that I really don't know where we were at with that. I know that we're at the point where we're gonna, I don't know. We have to approve some sort of, or the board has to approve some sort of go ahead for citation, I guess. I'm not a formal, but actually almost not a citation, but sorry about that. My phone's ringing. Doesn't ring all day. Some sort of to either think about a lien or something at this point, because there's just no communication at that point with this property.
Well, I mean, this property's been on our list for close to 5 years.
Well, this is the initial one, yes.
And I will tell you, I mean, just from a personal perspective, I've known people that have lived next door to that house for years and have been dealing with it well before our 5 years and couldn't get anywhere. And there's a lot of paper rustling that makes it hard to hear. You may want to go on mute if you're shuffling papers.
So the issue
Bob,
with this is the ownership and getting to the owner, right? So we got to serve something on the property and make it a lien.
I think that's going to be the best. Personally, I think that's the best way to do. Even if it's initial, maybe it'll start getting their attention.
Yeah.
But we've issued formal citations for this property, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Then,
yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we just need to go to the next stage with the lawyers.
Exactly.
It's time.
Yes.
It was probably time 4 years ago.
Well, this property has had all kinds of issues with ownership and everything else. So we've, and like Bob said, this has been on here forever. We just can't seem to come to a way to get their attention or to move forward. So I think we should just go with the legal action.
I'll make the motion, Jim, to move forward to whatever the next step is from legal action, and to do it as expeditiously as the legal process will allow.
I'll second.
Good.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Bob, can I just ask on this sheet in the status column, when it says 0 notice, what does that mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not 0 notice. It just means a notice, an official notice, a citation the notice of violations has been presented to these people. So these people are definitely on the clock. This was previously approved by the board to send them an official violation notice. No more warnings. They are under an official notice.
Okay.
The 0 there, I'm sorry, was just a way to be able to sort these properties into a something that we can follow more easily.
Okay, next property.
Okay, number 2 then, 17-011. He had made some progress in getting stuff out of the front yard. However, it kind of stopped, and the front yard is, he's claiming that it's wildflowers, but if you look at some of the, you can see, take your time now, look at some of the pictures if you want to. It's still messy, and it hasn't improved in the past few weeks. He had an initial surge of getting things done, and it stopped at it has stopped at that point.
So what would our next appropriate steps be? What would our options be given where we are today?
Allie, I would probably have to, because you know how he is, maybe ask you if you think he deserves another more time, or do you think it's time we just, because this is another one that's been a very long time in getting.
Yeah,
getting
I mean, to be honest, we've offered him so many options, whether we were going, try to find someone to come help, cut down the wildflowers, offered dumpsters. I don't really think there's going to be much progress made on his part. And this is another one that's been going on for a while. So I don't know what you want to decide as a board is what the next step is. I've had many conversations with him, but I think there's a lot of resistance with trying to make any progress.
What would the next legal step be?
A formal citation, right, Bob?
Well, he's already under, yeah, well, it would have to go to lien. He's already had the, he's under, the violation notice has been issued to him. He has the violation notice. So at this point, it would be, we deem that he hasn't made enough progress or made progress to the point where we would then just start assessing fines.
Do you think it's worth maybe the two of us talking to him one more time and just explaining that this is what's going to happen? Well, there's no more time. We're going to start you're going to start accruing fines unless, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I would be amenable if you want to go. That's fine.
Well, I'm like, that's it. In the next meeting, if he doesn't agree to anything, then maybe I don't know. This is one of those sensitive cases, but.
I think for many of these, that's the right next to last step. So I think, Allie, that's a really good suggestion. And that should kind of be part of our protocol, that we have that one last personal end of the road. This is what's happening next, period. And then giving them the, oh my God, and let them do something tangible. I don't want to come across as being insensitive. I hope that's not what I'm doing.
No.
I'm just trying to be sensitive to everybody else, which is for both of these houses, the neighbors have been suffering for 3 to 5 years. And I think at some point we either do something or we shouldn't exist.
Well, I personally don't think it needs to come back to the board. I think you need to have the discussion. You need to determine whatever his response is. I think you need to tell him without an immediate positive response, and before the next meeting, we need to see progress, or those fines, not an if, but the fines will go into effect at the next meeting. I
think that's a good idea, Jim.
Yeah, I don't want to just continue, because we've had a year and a half of you guys knocking yourself out trying to help this guy, and it just hasn't worked.
I think it's more like 3 years, to be honest.
Yeah,
I remember Bobby Bush and I went out there 3 Halloweens ago. So I think one more firm conversation, and then I think we have no choice, right? I mean, we can't just let it be.
That's fine. We'll let them know that if it's not done before the next meeting, that at that meeting, fines will begin to accrue. And
So
that's
that,
it.
an action item will be for the next meeting to have the paperwork ready for the next step, which is we give him the notice, the formal notice of fines as a result of lack of progress.
So why don't we move today to proceed just as we did with the property we just discussed? The lawyers will take a couple of weeks anyway, and you can have your conversation in the meantime. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
we'll have
George's idea.
it ready for the next meeting.
That's fine, George. I agree.
I agree with George.
Okay, so I so move that we proceed to the next level of asserting a lien on the property with appropriate.
second that.
Well, it's not a lien yet. It's fine process first.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, the
Fines
lien,
accrue. The fine, I assume the process is the fines accrue until he pays them. If he doesn't pay them at some point in time, we file a lien.
that's exactly correct, Michael. But
And
the
I'll
next
even offer him one more time. I'll say we can get you a dumpster. We've told him even just move the stuff from the front of the house to the back, where it's not seen from the road. So I think just one more firm, opportunity to say this to him. And how much, if I remember correctly, the amount of the fine is kind of up to the commission. Am
Yes.
I correct?
Right.
So what should we propose to him so that we can give him some tangible kind of, numbers? What
What have we done in the past? I mean, we should try to be good if we could sort of set a precedent, sort of for this amount, for this level, we find this. I mean, it's got to be consistent or we'll be exposed legally later.
No,
Well,
I thought the fines it's set. There's a set amount for the fines.
Yeah, isn't it 100 and later it's 250, something like that?
yes,
100 per what?
day?
A.
We're done.
And if after, I think it's 90 days, we have not seen any compliance and it's judged to be willful, then the state can also begin fining. So you end up with a dual situation there.
Yeah, as we can search for that remedy also for another case that we have.
Yeah, right. Well, we've got it's all in writing as to what the amount is. But
Yes.
I think at this point in time, it's just we should implement the maximum amount allowable under the current policy because we've gone through this with him multiple times now.
Yes.
The first level of fines, yeah. So that's the motion that first level of fines will begin as of the date of our next meeting if no substantial progress is made in remedying the condition of that property.
Or at least some plan, right? At least some agreement on his part. Because
Well,
he is a senior, so I don't want to say set him up for failure and say you have to have substantial progress in a month. But at least I'm just asking. Do you think it's reasonable to say at least if he agrees to get a dumpster and we start to see things moving at least to the back of the property or in the dumpster? I mean, I don't know how specific you want us to get, but
I think we have to be very specific because in the past, he has always assured us that yes, he will take action. And now he's back. Now this new issue that, it's actually wildflowers, that part, that's just, if you've driven past there, if those are wildflowers, then boy, that's giving wildflowers a bad name.
Exactly. They're wild, all right.
Yeah, they're wild. So, Allie, I think you and Bob speaking to him, but I don't think you can offer the dumpster like we have in the past. But I think he has to understand there has to be substantial progress. And Bob, I think it's up to you at this point, between now and that next meeting, it's you determine whether or not you've seen substantial progress. And if you haven't, then the board should have ready the next step procedure. But
Understood.
I think you and Allie, and especially you, Bob, Allie can only assist in making sure that we're bending over backwards to help him. But at the end of the day, it's got to be clear to him that action's going to be taken. And if you don't see action in the next 30 days, then I think you then recommend to the board to enact the paperwork that we will already have ready.
Yes. Okay. Agreed. Yes, sir.
All right, then we're going to table my motion because I was, favoring immediate setting of the fine, et cetera, and that's fine. We can, but let him know that the board was this close to setting the fines today, and that we have every intention, I think, among this group to do it if he hasn't made real progress at the next meeting.
Well, tell him that there's an agenda point on the next meeting that fines will start accruing without
Yes.
a positive report.
Okay.
At this point, Mr. Chairman, you might want to welcome the lucky Michael Lamolt, who has joined the meeting.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Michael, for representing the Human Service Commission too.
You had no idea what you were getting into.
You don't need me.
Yeah. I have no idea what you're getting into here, but fortunately we have several lawyers on our committee now, which we didn't have to start with. And as it turns out, that's the most valuable asset we can have. So, thank you, and we're glad to have you. This is my last meeting, so I'm glad you're coming on board.
Thank you.
Michael.
I'm sorry, I had problems with my computer. I didn't have this program in there and I had to lie. I'm sorry to be late. It just I couldn't get into the meeting.
We're glad to have you.
Yes, thank you.
What house you're talking about.
We'll bring you up to speed offline another time. You maybe Bob and I could talk to you separately and kind of fill you in.
Sure. I hope you got some of the emails. If you checked your emails with
I got a lot of emails, but I had surgery, so I haven't had a chance to really go over them, to tell you the truth. I had eye surgery, so and I'm going back in for more eye surgery next week again. So
right. Well, when you get a chance, it's perfectly fine.
I'll look at it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Bob, you want to continue?
Okay. Yeah, we'll go on to number 3. 18-004. That one, again, no changes. And there is a video. I did send the link to a video for that. So if you want to get a decent idea of what the property currently looks like now, just it's good that you can see these in the videos. You can see exactly what we're working with instead of having to drive by. But there is a link there, but there's been no changes at that point. And it would be up to however you want to do it, whether you want to recommend or think about another date where the lien would be adjusted for the current amount. But that's something you guys would have to decide on.
For Michael Lamolt's benefit, at least, he should be aware this is a property that has already been liened with a $33,000 fine accrued at the point it was liened, and that fine continues to accrue. And as you can see, well, maybe no, you can't, but it's a familiar property and nothing has changed.
Yeah, Bob,
Okay.
I just don't, at this point in time, we can circle back to the lawyers, but I think we need to now just update the lien amount.
Yeah.
We have no other. We're at the extent of the amount of enforcement we can apply.
Yes.
We can't forcibly do anything other than continue with this process. So I think recalculating the fine amount and giving that information to the town is the next step.
Yes. Okay.
I imagine we could move to foreclose the lien, but I expect we don't have any appetite for doing that at this point.
I don't know if we can, George. You would know better than I.
Well, it's an option, I think. I've been looking at the ordinance it is.
Sure, I think that's the point of a lien. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we need to get the next round of legal advice then, because
Well, I don't think we want to foreclose a $50,000 lien.
okay.
Probably require the sale of the property or something. So.
Yep.
All right, Bob, next item.
Yes, number 4, 18-005. This one, the the town had provided a dumpster. It's there. It's gone. I understand the dumpster was full. He did fill the dumpster. In the house, it does look a little clearer. In those, you should look at you can look at some of the photos. I posted photos from that were taken today, and then photos that were taken a year ago. This is another one of those issues, however, where you talk about an overgrown lawn, and as opposed to someone who has just let their lawn go back to nature, and at what point does it stop being a blight issue and just become a naturalization of the land?
Right.
The house seems, it doesn't seem that it's run down. The house seems okay. It's just that it's just in the middle of a mini forest that's there. Leaves in the driveway. So this is kind of an interpretation of the ordinance, of one of the violations, as to whether or not this lawn is considered overgrown, or is it just somebody's woods that's existing on their property. He did make the attempt, and it is what it is. So in terms of how the board wants to look at it, I'm going to be happy to bring forward and go forth with any other notices necessary, or if you think it warrants a lien. If it's my opinion, it's kind of difficult because I tend to lean more toward the homeowner, and it not really being safe. I guess his paths are clear to the house and to his door. If there's an emergency, engines can get in, a fire engine and an ambulance can get into his driveway to approach the house. So it's not unnatural. It's not an accumulation of trash or garbage. It is just overgrown trees. That's about it. I'll be looking for whatever opinions you might have if you have a chance to look at the photos.
Aren't there actually vines growing on the porch of that property? I mean,
I did not take. I'll be honest with you. Excuse me. I'm sorry. About the extent, I know that there was a lot of the deadfall and a lot of the woods, a lot of the stuff trees that had fallen and gone across the driveway and in the property, that's all been removed, so it looks better. But I can't really, not allowed technically on the property unless he invites me on to be able to see, or if I can get some better photographic equipment to be able to take, set up a tripod and I could get some close-ups of some of the area. That would be a next step, which is very possible. We could do that.
Well, Bob, I have a question, because he has cleaned up several of the blight conditions that originally were there, right?
I wouldn't say the majority, but I would say, I don't know. Allie, have you been by there at all? I would say maybe 25%. You're muted, Allie.
You're muted, Allie. You're muted.
Sorry, I didn't drive by. I just saw the pictures
Okay,
that you
right there.
sent.
Yeah, and it looks clear. I can tell from the picture, it looks clearer to the house at least. But it still is what it is. Yes.
But my question is, at this point in time, if you go back and look at the ordinance, does he still have to cure 100% of the original blight conditions?
Well, yes, that's an interpretation. It would be. I mean, at some point, it went from a lawn to being overgrown and blighted and long lawn, and now it's gotten to the point where trees have grown in, and there really isn't a lawn. There's no front lawn, there's no back lawn. It's just trees. I think that I wouldn't say it's perfect right now, but I would think that if we can get in touch with them and put a little bit more pressure to do a little bit more work, if we do one more step with them, I think it would be enough to get that violation off. And then really the second violation, issue with the boats and the canoes and the trailers and the racks that are in the back of the property, which you know, he claims are still viable watercraft, which I find hard to believe. But then that would be the single violation, and it would really fall off the list at that point, because there would only be one violation technically. So I would encourage him to try another month if we keep after him with the board's approval, and then see how far we can get with him. One more month, if we can get anything done, then that would be just to the plus.
The boats and trailers are not visible from the front of the house, correct?
Correct, but they are visible from Stony Brook, behind the house.
And remind me again, the original complainants, were they, was it about the overgrowth, or was it about the stuff in the backyard, or was it everything?
No, I think it was mostly just about the overgrowth.
Yeah.
You know, the boats were found technically because in doing my search of all angles of the property from the public way, that's what I found. I have not heard anything specific about the boats being an issue. So I think if we can, you're right, I think if we can get the front looking a little better from the road, from West Avenue, I think that the complaints would probably, you know, calm down a bit. I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Is
So
the
Bob,
sense
you're gonna
of the board to let him continue for 30 days?
Yes, yeah, we'll contact him. We'll be in contact with him, definitely.
And can I just really quickly, can we go on 16001?
Yes.
What I wrote down was we voted to move to placing a lien on the property. That's the first one.
No, I think
is this property yet accruing fines?
No, I believe that the lien that may have been a misspoke on my part. I think we have to make the date to start accruing fines for that property.
All right, so George, you're the attorney here. So procedurally, we should probably re-vote on this item to make it officially, to have it accrue fines as opposed to move to an attorney's lien.
Yes, very good, David. Yeah, I would move to correct the earlier motion and to move to the next step, which is to assess fines rather than to lien the property. And I would invite Michael Casolo to second that, as he, I believe, seconded my earlier motion.
We'll do that, George.
One comment, and I think we need to keep this in mind. And this, at this point in time, of all the properties, there is only one property that is in a position and it has been liened. The rest of the properties, you have to go through the fining process for a period of time, and they have to accrue, and then you can do the lien. But until you have assessed fines, the lien option isn't there.
Good. All right, that's a good pickup, David.
So I think your motion, George, amended is correct.
Good. Okay. Michael, did you second that?
I did, George.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Keep
Okay.
going, Bob.
Very good. Let's see. Well, number 5, 20-001. Again, the house has been vacant. The back of the building, there's been no work on the back of the building. The house is relatively good condition. The yard at this point is neat. It's low. However, if you just look at the back, there's been no progress in either neatening up or sealing the back of the house in any better way. So it still does pose the issue of potentially harboring pests. Whether the original complaint came that there was feral cats utilizing the basement of the house. Don't really know about that, but there's been no contact from the owner. He did officially receive, we got a notice back that he got all the notices, but has not made any contact back to us to attempt to do anything with the property.
Well, then we need to go to the next step of the procedure because he's in violation. If he has an opportunity to come back and come before this commission or before this committee and explain what his plan to correct the problems are. And the fact that he hasn't responded says we need to go next step.
Agreed. Yes, I agree with that.
Which is assessing fines, right?
Yes.
I'll move that we move to the next step.
He has waived his right to, basically he's waived his right for the appeal process by not coming back. So George, you're making the motion?
I did.
Second?
I'll second again.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Michael, are you voting or abstaining at this point?
I'm just not familiar enough with it all. I haven't seen any pictures or anything, so I'm gonna abstain at this point. Ally has, I'll take whatever position she takes.
Yep, that's good. Just checking.
Okay. Moving on then. Number 6. 17-004, just to let you know, I mean, this one's been on for a while, but the people are out of the house, and I went by today, didn't even have to take some photos because the outside of the property is about 60% cleaned up. They're doing a good job in getting that back. So that will soon be, off of our radar altogether. Number
Which
7.
number was that, Bob?
That was number
6.
17-004.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
Number 7, 17-005. That has been on and off for a while with varying types of complaints. At this point, before last month's meeting, well, I would say that the house now appears vacant. The area, the part of the property to the south now looks like it's a point where he's disposing of, or not disposing, but processing wood and lumber. There's large logs that have been placed there, and then there's a big pile of freshly chopped wood, and the pile's growing and shrinking at various times. So he's doing some sort of processing of firewood, I believe, at that point on the property on that part. The lawn, the middle part has overgrown. It's grown. There's been no care given to it. And all around the house is a bunch of, you to be able to tell by the video that there's a whole bunch of things being stored on the back porch, in the driveway. Nothing has really improved, and it is for sale. The house is for sale. There's a for sale sign in front of it, but it doesn't look good. So this one has not been recently given the okay for an official violation notice. So I would put it to you to vote to allow me to issue a violation notice for that property. That's 17-005.
Just to give you a little history on that one, for those of you who weren't here since the beginning, it's a combination of a landlord and a tenant issue. So the wood, I believe, like the part of the property further away from the house where the wood and there used to be equipment there, I believe that's the owners, the landlord / owners belongings. And then the stuff near the house was stuff that we addressed with the tenant at the time, but the tenant that I had worked with is no longer there. I don't know if someone's living there now or not, but just.
Bob,
No.
I think you have to just go forward. They're back on the list. If the house is up for sale, that's good, but you would think that in order to sell it, they would want to clean it up. But I drove by there yesterday, and all the progress they made is gone.
Yes.
It's back. It looks just like it did. And, he did a considerable amount of cleanup. They moved a lot of stuff out of there. And they've gone right back to where they were.
Yeah.
And
Prior-
what's tough about it is there's other homes in the area that are for sale, and obviously this is not helping them.
Right. Last month, we did not meet last month, but prior to last month, I was there a couple of times, and there was somebody was storing people mover transit buses there as well. There was 3 of them that was on the property just parked, and yeah, I'm sure that they don't belong to any tenants that are living there. So
I don't think they belong to the landlord, though. The landlord seemed to be totally disconnected from it. His basic position was he couldn't touch anything on the property because he didn't own it. But at the end of the day, he's responsible for it. So it's clear that the owner is the one responsible, Bob, and that's who we should be notifying.
Mm-hmm. Do you need to put up for a vote to issue an official violation notice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm happy to move it unless Michael wants to or somebody else.
Go for it, George.
Michael,
We got a routine here. We're not going to break with that.
So the motion is to proceed to provide notice. Is that right? Yeah. Provide notice of the blight conditions.
correct.
Second.
To the owner.
To the owner,
To the
correct.
Owner, yes.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I should say, by the way, Bob, I was unable to open that video. It made me go to some Google Access thing, and I was stymied. I know
Okay.
the property anyway, but
All
did
right.
anybody else have that problem?
Yeah, I had that problem, George. It
Oh, you
said
did,
I
Dave?
needed permission and somebody needed to give me
I don't
permission.
think we have permission to the drive.
Okay. I tried to work that out prior to this afternoon. I guess it didn't work. That just seemed like the easiest way. I will reattempt to make sure we get that to you. So keep the link available, and
Sure.
unless I send you another one, and I will work on getting that fixed.
Thanks, Bob.
And Michael
Okay.
Lomo, one of the things you might want to do periodically is, because these places are all obviously close in town, but I drive by at least 3 or 4 properties that are on the list every week, just so I've got an eyeball on is there any progress, so that Bob's not the only one who's having to make the observations. And
Okay.
I think it's just good practice for us all to have a visual. If you see this place, it's totally clear. And just imagine that about half the stuff that's now out there had been taken care of maybe 8 months ago. So that's why we didn't take it totally off the list. We were concerned.
I appreciate that. I'll be doing that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Bob, go on.
Okay, very good. Number 8 then, 17-019. This one, she seems just to be she gets to a point where she gets things almost okay, and then it kind of just falls back. But we're at the point now where this really now, I think it's only fallen into, I was looking through the different violations today, and although it doesn't look good, it's still, at this point, it's really only one violation now. So even though it doesn't look like it's made much progress, I think it's kind of falling out of where we have any jurisdiction at this point, because there is only one violation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we cannot, the criteria is clear. We can't issue a violation unless it meets multiple numbers of the criteria. So,
Right.
Yeah. No.
So at this point, we're
just the car. Is that the one issue outstanding? The car?
That's another touchy situation, because technically, and this is where we fall into the whole thing, technically the car isn't really on her property.
Oh.
The car is, you know how you usually have setbacks for everything? The car is in the front of the house, it's off the road, but it's on that piece of property that technically the town owns as a right of way for the roadway. So, I mean, you could say, yes, it's hers, but if you were to bring it to the police to have it taken off of the road, they probably won't touch it because, well, it's in front of her property. It's got to belong to her. So it's getting a point where do you want to start getting legal as to where is this vehicle? It doesn't look in bad shape. There's no license plates on it at this point. It's just there. I mean, if at any point, it starts to look mold ridden and flat tires where it becomes an eyesore, I think we could revisit this, but it technically isn't. And actually I was looking at the and I don't know where, you talk about legally in the ordinance, it says specifically unregistered or unlicensed vehicles, plural. Now, yeah, so now I always was to understand, I always thought that it was, a vehicle, but I looked at the ordinance, it says multiple. So does one vehicle not meet that then? If it's a single one? Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I'm like,
Can I ask a question?
Bob,
If the ordinance says unlicensed vehicles, I would say that any unlicensed vehicle becomes an unlicensed vehicle. And it falls under that category. I don't think you have to go to 20 unlicensed vehicles before you have to meet this criteria.
Oh, no, I agree. I just didn't know whether or not were they talking specifically about, multiple vehicles and one was okay, because I believe the zoning, forgive me, I think zoning allows for a single vehicle to exist on a property, a single unlicensed vehicle to.
Hang on, Bob, hang on.
On the property, it's not on her property. It's on town property.
Exactly. That's where that's the other item.
If you're talking about a vehicle that's on town property that's effectively sitting on a piece of property adjacent to an active roadway, yes. I would think that would be a violation of state traffic law, and it should be impounded.
Well, that would be someone to determine where it is. I think that obviously you're out on the road, where you could tell where the town lines are. Most people have hedges or bushes that are set back off the road, and that delineates their property with regards to the town's property. And this one's actually sitting on that property adjacent to the roadway. But again, if it's not hers and it's not on her property, then it's technically not her. It's not a violation of the blight law. It's a violation of the.
It's got to be a town violation.
Yeah.
In some form or another.
Listen, it sounds like we have one of two paths to choose here. One is to have Bob contact her and verify if the vehicle does belong to her first.
Oh, it does.
And second is to have the police go out and take a look at the vehicle and assess if they believe that, it's an unlicensed vehicle sitting on town property.
Yes. Well, there's no plates on it, but we can contact the police.
And then armed with that information, we can, make a decision about what a next step might be here.
There is a question I have, if I may ask, and that is, you have to determine whether it's on her property. The property has to be staked properly, and it may be questionable whether part of it is on her property, part is off her property.
I don't think we want to do a survey. But, one angle, though, could be, I think as of November 1 each year, there's no off-street parking allowed so that snowplows can get through.
Oh, there's your answer.
That's correct. But the way it is, it's kind of, well, I won't say. I guess it's to be determined, but it definitely is her vehicle, because Bob, when I spoke to her, it is her vehicle.
Yes, it definitely is. Yeah, and you could take a look at the photos show where it's positioned with regards to the street. You can get a good view of that.
But Bob, I really do think you need to discuss this with the police as to whether or not some clarity from them as to whether or not they believe it would be in violation. And isn't it, wouldn't Public Works be the ones that also would be interested if in fact it's on the snow route?
I believe so, I guess, yes, yeah. Yeah,
So-
especially since it's not movable, or, yeah, it
Right,
hasn't been
exactly.
inspected there yet.
So maybe you could interface with them also
Okay.
and get their opinion.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, I'll do that as well. Okay, very good. So we'll hold that until next meeting. We get some more information, and I'll get in touch with her again too to try to get her to see if she'll continue to do a little bit more of the cleanup. And, you know, even at that point, yeah, whatever we can do with regard, we'll
Yeah, Bob,
determine
would
what the
you-
vehicle is.
On that and a couple of the other issues,
Yes.
after you've had discussions with the people, would you please email the board just prior to the meeting? And I mean, like the day you have the discussions, just so that there's time to mull over what the options might be or not be, as opposed
Will
to
do.
just waiting until we get to the meeting.
Yes,
I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
I had a conversation with her a few weeks ago, and she was not very amenable to working with us, to put it nicely.
I'd love to know what the real situation is, because you say these things so graciously, and I suspect that's not what they are.
Are any neighbors actively complaining?
There is one, but he's technically not a neighbor. I think it's somebody that just drives by the property every day. But there is an active complaint, and he does every few weeks he'll send me an email about the property. Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good, and that's the last one that I have.
Okay.
Full agenda.
Any questions on any other properties for Bob?
Mine.
Not hearing any.
Okay.
Not hearing any.
Right.
Let's move on to the next agenda item. This is my last meeting. I am being replaced by Peter Etter. He will be representing the Commission on Aging. So tonight we need to elect a new chairman to replace me. And I'd like to start with the easy question. Is there anybody who would volunteer for that role?
But everybody speak at once.
Everyone must be on mute.
I wish I had a
Everyone
cricket
must be
sound
muted.
sound effect.
Michael Lamolt, I think you're excused from this since you're new.
He's new.
I am definitely, yes.
He's the new guy. Well, who's not here? I think we should make a Mr.
Yeah,
Etter.
right.
Well, he's new also. The other person not here is also new. It's our
We hear a
choice.
Can we hear a nomination for George?
George raised his hand.
I heard that, Michael. I hope nobody else did. I was thinking you'd be perfect for it, Michael.
I don't think so. Joking aside, I started a new job about a month ago, and I am working 15-hour days right now. So I think it's not something I could take on right now.
Maybe David?
I have
You got
4
other
meetings
time
after this
through
one
the
tonight.
selectmen?
I'm not sure that the selectman is supposed to serve as the chair of the committee.
Oh, sure. There's no prohibition for that.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna respectfully decline.
All right.
Well,
Jim, is it particularly time consuming, or what's your assessment of the role?
No, it's, you've got the monthly meetings. I interact periodically with Bob. Mostly it's just following through. The longest conversations or the most action I generally have is with the lawyers. And it's
That could be tedious, I know.
it's not a huge it's not a huge time commitment, George. It really isn't. It's just well, you've seen the process.
Yeah.
It's just, there's not much else that we do other than repeat like we did tonight. We've, so.
All right, well, to simplify it, and knowing I have the right to resign at some point, I'd take it on for a while.
Can I have a formal nomination of George to replace me as chairman?
I formally nominate George.
Can I have a second?
I've never even met you, Michael, and I'm going to remember this.
All in favor?
I'll relieve you next year, George.
All right, Michael, I'm going to remember that.
I know you will.
Good. No, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, and George, your first assignment as chairman is to get one of the people who wouldn't volunteer for this to volunteer to be the secretary.
Oh, good, yeah.
So I'll turn that over to you.
I was wondering if David was taking notes today. I've made some notes today, but maybe I think David's a pretty prodigious note taker, aren't you, David?
I do take notes. So if there's no other takers for the position, since I declined the chairman's role, I'll do that. Yes.
As you may have seen from my style of note taking, they're pretty brief. They're just, make a note on each property, and that's all we really need.
Yeah, and David, I was secretary for 3 years, and the advice I got from everybody was keep it as simple as possible, especially from the lawyers. You don't need to go into great detail. It's just a matter of highlighting what the various issues were at the time. So it doesn't have to be wordy, and it's it's just we just need the record. And the good news is you've got all of these meetings are on channel 79. What I used to do is just go back periodically to channel 79 and kind of review, because typically, as you know, the meetings tonight's a little longer meeting than normal, but typically we get done in 45 minutes. So
yeah, no, I'm not worried about that. I just need to go back and review a couple of prior minutes to get a sense for how much detail or how little detail, or sort of how to phrase things. I've been giving summary reports to the Board of Selectmen, and I've been providing summaries, but not providing a whole lot of detail, because I figured, that's not the right purview for the selectmen to go over property by property.
okay.
No, I've got the notes for tonight, David, so I'll do them up in the next couple of days, and you can see what I think works.
That'd be awesome, George. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask for, is it possible to get a copy of the ordinance someplace?
Sure.
There's one on the website, on the town's website. It's there as well.
It's on the town's website?
Yes, yeah.
Under Blight?
I'll send it to you. Michael, I'll send it to you.
Oh, yeah, we have I have it on my desktop. I'm always looking at it.
Yeah, I'd like to know what I'm talking about.
George, it's your meeting to finish.
Oh my. Okay. Well, I was just going to suggest a motion to appoint or elect David as secretary. If I'm chairman, I shouldn't make that motion. So
I'll make the motion.
thank you. A second.
Second.
Very good. Any further discussion? No, David, you cannot speak anymore.
Aye.
Aye. Good. I sense that's unanimous.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, David.
That's it for the agenda, George. You can adjourn.
Terrific. Hey, Jim, thank you. I think you were the first chair of this group. And,
No, I wasn't. I was the second chair, but I'm the last original member from the first day we started this thing.
Oh, okay. Well,
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you and good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
I'm
Now
seeing
you
on
can just
the-
sit home and watch us on TV.
Oh, I'm going to. The best TV in town.
Yeah. And thank you, Michael, for joining on behalf of the Human Services.
Sorry, I'm so ignorant on the subject, but I appreciate being part of it.
Good. Welcome. All right. So I heard Michael move that we adjourn. That was Michael Lamolt who did. Michael Casolo seconded it. It was unanimous, and good night all. Thanks again, Jim.
Good
Good
night,
night.
George.
Stay
Good night,
well.
everyone.
Good night.